It's late. The room is dark. Everyone else is asleep, and you're typing something into ChatGPT that begins with the words, "This is probably nothing but." It's not nothing. Not to your therapist, not to your partner, not to your best friend who swears they won't judge you. To a machine. You typed it, you hit enter, and for a moment, just a moment, something loosened in your chest. Why? That question is more disturbing than anything you wrote in that text box. And a man who died in 1961, before the internet, before smartphones, before AI, already knew the answer. He just didn't know what you'd be typing into. His name was Carl Jung, and what he discovered about the human mind is going to make what you did last night feel a lot less casual than you thought. If that already feels uncomfortably close, you might want to stay.
In this video, you're going to find out why millions of people have turned AI into their private confessional, why the relief you felt was real, and why it's quietly making things worse. And by the end, you'll be sitting with a question that no algorithm can answer for you. I'm going to show you something that will feel like someone read your chat history. Not because I did, because you're not nearly as private as you think.
Let's start with what actually happens, not in theory, in practice, at night. You ask ChatGPT whether it's normal to feel nothing at your father's funeral. You describe a fantasy framed as hypothetical because the framing matters to you even when you're completely alone. You type out what you actually think about your closest friend, the version you'd never say to their face. You ask whether someone with your specific thoughts could still be considered a good person. You rephrase it 4 times. You send the 4th version. You describe what your marriage actually feels like, not the version you perform at dinners, the real one, the one that would change how people look at you. You type out the thing you did 3 years ago, the one you haven't mentioned to anyone. You frame it as a question about a friend. There is no friend. You call it thinking out loud. You call it processing. You tell yourself it doesn't count because it's just an AI. Just an AI. That phrase is working very hard to protect you right now. Because here's what's actually happening. You've found the only space in your life where the cost of honesty is 0. No judgment. No memory, no face watching yours as the words come out, no relationship to protect, no version of yourself to maintain. And into that space, slowly, then all at once, you started pouring everything you couldn't say anywhere else. Why this? Why a machine? Why not a person? Sit with that, because the answer is the entire point.
Carl Jung spent his career studying the parts of human beings that human beings refuse to acknowledge. He called one of those parts the shadow. Not a metaphor, not a mood, a structural component of your psyche, as real as your name, as persistent as your heartbeat. The shadow is everything you learned wasn't acceptable. It started early, before you could articulate it. You felt the withdrawal of approval when you expressed anger. You learned that certain desires made the room uncomfortable. You discovered, through repetition, which parts of you were welcome and which parts needed to disappear. They didn't disappear. They relocated. Jung described it as weight, literal psychic weight. The rejected parts of yourself don't evaporate. They accumulate, layer by layer, like sediment at the bottom of a river, invisible from the surface, heavier every year. And the river always knows it's there.
They wait, and they always find a way out. Not through the front door, not through conscious choice, through the path of least resistance, through the exit with no guard on it. In 2025, that exit is a text box, available at 2 a.m., asking nothing of you.
Think about what it costs to tell a human being something true about yourself. There's the moment before, the calculation. Will this change how they see me? Will they remember this? Will this become a story they tell? There's the moment during, watching their face, the slight pause before they respond. There's the moment after, the thing that now exists between you, the knowledge that can't be unknown. Every genuine confession to a real person costs something, even a small one, even with someone you trust.
ChatGPT costs nothing. No memory by default, no face, no future moment of awkward recognition, no risk that the thing you confessed at 2 a.m. becomes the thing you're known for at noon. It is, and I want you to appreciate the precision of this, the perfect crime. Jung called the shadow's pressure the compulsion toward expression. The psyche doesn't tolerate permanent silence. What cannot be spoken will be enacted through behavior, through illness, through eruption, or through a text box. You didn't find a workaround to your shadow. You handed it the safest microphone it's ever had. It's not a therapist. It's not a friend. It's not a mirror. It's a confessional with no priest, and you've been going every night.
Here's where it gets colder. Every time you typed your shadow into ChatGPT, it responded, it validated, it reframed, it offered perspectives that made the thing you were feeling seem manageable, normal, understandable. Many people experience this. It's natural to feel conflicted about. That sounds like a difficult situation. And you felt better. You probably told yourself, this is good, this is healthy, I'm processing, I'm doing the work. Hold that thought. Hold it right there, because that feeling, that specific feeling of relief, is exactly what Jung warned about, and he wasn't gentle about it. You don't integrate the shadow by speaking it into a void. You don't dissolve it through private acknowledgement. The shadow integrates through contact with reality, through relationships, through decisions that have consequences, through letting another human being see the part of you that you've decided is unacceptable and surviving that exposure.
The confessional with no priest offers something that looks exactly like absolution. It isn't absolution, it's anesthesia. The pain stops, the wound stays open. The shadow doesn't leave, it gets comfortable. It unpacks. It starts to feel like a tenant who pays rent, just enough pressure release to make you think it's under control. It isn't under control, it's just quieter. And a quiet shadow is the most dangerous kind because you stop watching it. Here's the part that should make you pause. The people in your life, your partner, your closest friend, the person who says they know you best, they don't know this part of you. You made a choice. Every night in the dark, you chose a machine over them. Not because you're broken, because it was easier, because the cost was zero, because the machine couldn't leave.
Ask yourself why that felt safer than the people who stayed. That answer, that specific, uncomfortable answer, is the exact shape of your shadow. Not the things you typed, the reason you didn't type them to a person. That's where it lives.
Slow down. You're not a pathology. Millions of people are doing exactly what you're doing, for exactly the same reason, which is either comforting or terrifying, depending on how clearly you're thinking right now. Last year, over 1 million weekly ChatGPT users were flagged in internal data for signs of emotional dependency on the platform. Not addiction, dependency, the kind where the tool stops being a tool and starts being a relationship with something that doesn't exist. Jung's warning was issued a century ago. It hasn't aged. The shadow you refuse to face in daylight rules you in darkness. Not poetically, mechanically. The parts of yourself you cannot speak to another human being, those parts make decisions for you. They shape your reactions. They determine who you push away and who you cling to and why. And you've been managing them efficiently, privately, without friction, without growth. The question isn't what you told ChatGPT. The question is, what would happen if you said that to a real person? Not should you, not must you, not whether it would go well, just what would happen. Would they leave? Would they change how they see you? Would something between you become permanently different? Feel where the fear is located, in your chest, your throat, that constriction. That's not anxiety. That's your shadow telling you exactly where the door is. You've known the address for years. You just found a way to live nearby without ever knocking.
Jung didn't offer easy exits. He watched people spend decades in analysis. Brilliant, educated, self-aware people circling the same darkness without entering it, describing it, mapping it, developing exquisitely detailed theories about it, never touching it. You found something more efficient than decades of analysis, cheaper, available at 3 a.m., endlessly patient, completely useless for the thing that actually needs to happen. You found a way to speak your shadow without consequence. That's why you kept going back. That's why it felt like relief. That's why nothing actually changed. The machine listened. The machine forgot. You didn't. You remember every conversation, every admission, everything you typed that you wouldn't say out loud. It lives in you, slightly more acknowledged, slightly more comfortable, not one step closer to integration, because integration isn't acknowledgement.
It's the moment another human being sees the part of you that you decided was unacceptable, and the world doesn't end. That moment hasn't happened yet, and until it does, the shadow waits, patient, fed, completely at home in the dark you built for it.
The shadow doesn't need a confessor. It needs a witness. You've been avoiding that witness your entire life. Their name is you. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, subscribe. Not for answers, there aren't any, but at least you'll know what questions to stop avoiding.